In our headlines on this Thursday, November 21st, here in South Korea. Ukrainian forces launched British Storm Shadow missiles for the first time on Wednesday at targets within Russia's Kursk region, where North Korean troops have been deployed for duty. Meanwhile, over in New York, a UN General Assembly committee adopts a resolution condemning North Korea's human rights violations and calling for the return of all abductees for the 20th year in a row. And the US vetoes a Gaza ceasefire resolution drafted within the UN Security Council, claiming the ceasefire is not based on the condition of the release of hostages abducted by Hamas during the October 7th assault. Just a day after launching US-made longer-range missiles into Russian territory, Ukraine on Wednesday fired UK-supplied long-range missiles into the Kursk region. Our Park Gonu starts us off.
Ukraine has used UK-supplied long-range missiles for the first time in its war against Russia. According to Reuters, an official speaking on condition of anonymity confirmed that British Storm Shadow cruise missiles with a range of 250 kilometers were launched on Wednesday against targets in Russia. Fragments of the missiles were reportedly found in the Kursk region, where North Korean troops are deployed. The attack comes a day after Ukraine fired US ATACMS missiles for the first time into Russian territory, after their use was approved by US President Joe Biden this week. The British government declined to comment about the use of its long-range missiles, but according to the BBC, the UK's Defense Secretary had been in contact with officials in Ukraine on Tuesday night. The UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer had hinted at support for Ukraine during the recent G20 summit in Brazil.
We have stood with Ukraine from the start, and I've been doubling down in my clear message that we need to ensure that Ukraine has what is needed for as long as is needed to win this war against Putin.
Also on Wednesday, the US said it would support Ukraine with anti-personnel landmines in a reversal of its current policy. The decision was followed by backlash from humanitarian organizations over concerns about the threat such weapons pose to civilians. However, the US State Department said the landmines are comparatively safe as they become inert after a period of time. Also on Wednesday, countries including the US temporarily shut their embassies in Kyiv amid the threat of Russian attacks inside Ukraine.
Saw the security alert that went out early this morning, overnight our time. The embassy put that alert out based on a possible threat of a significant attack on Kyiv, something that we take very seriously and led to the temporary change in posture at the embassy.
But the US officials said their embassy will return to normal operations on Thursday. Park Gonu, Arirang News.
And authorities here have confirmed that North Korean hackers were behind the 2019 theft of 58 billion Korean won worth of cryptocurrency from a South Korean trading platform. Our Kim Jong-sil has details.
South Korean police have for the first time officially pointed at North Korea as the culprit of a 2019 cryptocurrency heist. In November 2019, North Korean hackers stole 342,000 Ethereum worth 58 billion won at the time from the South Korean exchange Upbit. Today, that value is estimated at over 1.49 trillion won, or just over $1 billion US. According to the Korean National Police Agency on Thursday, investigators identified two North Korean hacker groups, Lazarus and Andariel, as responsible for the breach. The conclusion comes from evidence gathered through IP addresses, cryptocurrency tracking, and cooperation with the FBI. Police also uncovered traces of the North Korean phrase "허란일," meaning unimportant matter, on a computer used in the attack. Police stated that 57% of the stolen Ethereum was exchanged for Bitcoin through 3 exchange sites, while the rest was laundered through 51 foreign exchanges. Although the exact use of the funds remains unclear, it is suspected that they may have gone to fund North Korea's nuclear or missile programs, as previously reported by the UN and foreign governments. After 4 years of legal and diplomatic efforts, South Korea, in collaboration with Swiss authorities, reclaimed 4.8 Bitcoin valued at 600 million won, which was returned to Upbit last month. The authorities continue to work on recovering the remaining stolen assets and strengthening efforts to prevent future cybercrime. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, a UN General Assembly committee has adopted a resolution denouncing North Korea's human rights violations and demanding the return of all abductees for the 20th year in a row. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent Peunji reports.
The United Nations Third Committee, which handles human rights and social affairs, has adopted a resolution on North Korean human rights. It was adopted by consensus by 61 countries, including South Korea, at a meeting in New York on Wednesday local time. The committee has been adopting the resolution on the human rights situation in North Korea every year since 2005. This year's resolution not only contains a united message from the international community urging the overall improvement of human rights in North Korea, but also includes concerns about new areas that were not part of previous resolutions. First, it expressed concerns about the possible negative impact the human rights situation could have on separated families, noting that North Korea announced earlier in January that it would no longer pursue reunification with the South. And second, the paper also urged the North to ensure the right to freedom of thought and religion, and the right to freedom of opinion and expression, by reforming all practices and laws that suppress these rights. It also called on the regime to permit the establishment of independent newspapers and other media. South Korea's Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations said during Wednesday's meeting that it's already well known the North provides zero freedom of expression and severe punishment for merely watching South Korean dramas.
It is with a heavy heart, however, that there has been no improvement, but rather deterioration in North Korea's systematic, widespread, and gross human rights violations, which amount to crimes against humanity.
South Korea's foreign ministry said in a statement that it welcomes the committee's adoption of the resolution and said it hopes discussions on the human rights situation in North Korea will continue to take place actively at the United Nations. Peunji, Arirang News.
Unification Minister Kim Yong-ho condemned North Korea's acts of aggression in written remarks to the Global Korea Forum in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, local time. He took issue with the regime's deployment of, quote, its youth to the unjust war in Ukraine and its most recent ballistic missile launches. Minister Kim also took the opportunity to reaffirm South Korea's commitment to its alliance with the U.S., emphasizing its strength regardless of shifts in U.S. leadership. The Global Korea Forum is an annual event organized by the Ministry of Unification to rally global support for unification on the Korean Peninsula. The U.S. has vetoed a resolution drafted within the UN Security Council for a halt in violence in Gaza, claiming the resolution fails to effectively relay the condition of hostage release and to denounce Hamas for its October 7th assault against Israel. Our Ising-jae reports.
A UN Security Council draft resolution was put forward by 10 non-permanent members on Wednesday, calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. For a resolution to be adopted, it must receive at least 9 votes in favor, with no vetoes by any of the UNSC permanent members. However, despite receiving 14 votes in favor of the draft resolution, it failed to pass due to 1 veto from a permanent member, the United States. According to the U.S. envoy to the UN, the veto comes as it was believed the draft resolution would not have secured the release of hostages.
We made clear throughout negotiations we could not support an unconditional ceasefire that failed to release the hostages. Because, as this Council has previously called for, a durable end to the war must come with the release of the hostages. These 2 urgent goals are inextricably linked. This resolution abandoned that necessity, and for that reason, the United States could not support it.
The veto was still met with major backlash despite the explanation from the U.S. ambassador to the UN. The draft resolution does demand the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. However, the U.S. felt the language was not strong enough, adding that the ceasefire was not on the condition of the release of hostages. Wood also added that the draft failed to condemn Hamas for the October 7th terrorist attack. Meanwhile, after visiting Beirut, U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein is headed to Israel, to continue negotiations on an Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire. He's expected to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Thursday, as the Lebanese government and Hezbollah accepted a U.S.-led draft proposal. However, details of the ceasefire proposal are still unclear, and it remains to be seen whether Israel would also agree to the agreement after Hochstein's visit. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Back on the local front, President Yoon Suk-yeol is back home, having touched down here in Seoul earlier on this Thursday morning from his trip to South America. That being said, our Oh Soo-young sheds light on the gains of his latest diplomatic agenda. To take a listen.
President Yoon Suk-yeol's week-long trip to Latin America featured South Korea's multidimensional diplomacy as he reinforced bilateral and minilateral partnerships to tackle global challenges. Coming at a significant time in geopolitics, with former US President Donald Trump set to return to the White House in January, as well as Russia and North Korea's military cooperation, all eyes were on Yoon's key bilateral summits on the sidelines of the APEC summit in Peru. Amid concerns that a second Trump term could undermine America's network of alliances, the South Korean leader held a trilateral and separate bilateral meetings with US President Joe Biden and Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba. To preserve Seoul, Washington and Tokyo's three-way partnership on deterring North Korea and tackling challenges to regional peace and prosperity, the leaders agreed to launch a trilateral secretariat to institutionalize their agreements made at Camp David last year. The South Korean leader also held a rare sit-down with Chinese President Xi Jinping for the first time in 2 years, signaling progress in their relations. Yoon called on Beijing to play a constructive role in squeezing North Korea as the regime's nuclear and missile threat continues to grow. Still, with tensions expected to rise between Washington and Beijing, Yoon made it clear that choosing between its closest ally and biggest trading partner is a false dilemma. He told Brazilian media that while Seoul will anchor its foreign policy on the Korea-US alliance, it aims for communication and a constructive partnership with China. Another key outcome of Yoon's trip to Lima was his bilateral summit with Peruvian President Dina Boluarte as he marked his first official trip to a Latin American country. The two sides inked deals on strengthening cooperation on defense, minerals, infrastructure and ICT as comprehensive strategic partners. Yoon also met with the leaders of Brunei and Vietnam for the first time and the Canadian Prime Minister for their sixth summit. During the G20 summit in Brazil, Yoon also held a minilateral meeting with the leaders of MICTA, Mexico, Indonesia, Korea, Turkey and Australia, reaffirming their support for principles of international law, multilateralism and international cooperation amid growing conflicts in the world. Finally, Yoon's multilateral diplomacy aimed to enhance South Korea's role as a global pivotal state, contributing to global growth and governance, leveraging its experience of turning from a war-torn country into an advanced IT powerhouse.
The central themes of the APEC and G20 meetings were promoting inclusivity and growth and building a just world and sustainable planet, both addressing humanity's sustainable future, a goal attainable only through shared growth between advanced and developing economies.
Yoon highlighted Seoul's role as a bridge of prosperity and a green ladder linking developing and advanced economies by sharing its IT solutions for social inclusion, contributions to beat poverty and hunger, and efforts to promote an inclusive green transition. Wrapping up his multilateral summitry, President Yoon assured that South Korea will uphold its commitments and responsibilities, especially as its southern city of Gyeongju hosts the APEC summit next year. He introduced the summit's theme of building a sustainable tomorrow, connect, innovate, prosper. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Rio de Janeiro.
Exports during the first 20 days of November expanded on year, bolstered by strong shipments of semiconductors and ships. According to the Korea Customs Service on this Thursday, the total value of exports rose nearly 6% on year, surpassing $35.6 billion. Now, given this latest finding, the government believes Korea will see its surplus stretching to 14 straight months in November as exports continue to grow. SK Hynix is poised to become the world's first supplier of NAND flash memory chips with over 300 layers. According to the chipmaker on this Thursday, mass production is underway, and these chips will be available to customers in the first half of next year. This breakthrough follows the company's technological advances in stacking memory cells vertically to raise storage capacity. Now, back in June last year, SK Hynix succeeded in creating the world's highest 238-layer NAND. NAND flash is a type of memory chip that stores data even when the power supply is turned off. Hyundai Motors unveiled its new electric SUV, the Ioniq 9. The event took place in Los Angeles on Wednesday. Building on the success of its Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6, Hyundai believes the Ioniq 9 redefines the electric vehicle experience with its spacious interior. The vehicle also marks the Korean auto giant's entry into the large electric SUV market. The Ioniq 9 will be on display for the general public on Friday at the 2024 LA Auto Show. Then it will be available in the market, first here in Korea from early next year, before hitting markets in the US, Europe, and beyond. A growing number of companies is seeking to offer family-friendly support to better address the country's alarming birth rate. Our correspondent Lee Soo-jin covers the broad campaign.
I think all working moms can agree that one of the toughest situations is having to go to work even when your child suddenly falls ill.
It's a struggle that working parents across the world grapple with. And it often deters people from starting a family, which is why firms like this bank have built daycare centers for their employees as part of efforts to improve the work-life balance for working parents. Lee Hyun drops off her 3-year-old son at the daycare each day at around 8 a.m. and picks him up after work. And because it's a corporate daycare center, she's not the only parent who does so.
At other daycare centers, most children get picked up by 4 p.m., so I would worry about my son being there alone, but now knowing there are many other children, I worry less and can focus better on my work.
The centers also have programs using educational puzzles and games to teach children social skills and basic concepts in language and math. They also plan to hold open houses after work hours and during weekends to give parents insight into their children's progress. And such daycare centers will soon be open to other working parents.
Starting March next year, employees from small and medium-sized companies will also be able to send their children here.
This just adds to efforts already undertaken by SMEs, as this makeup company introduced flexible working hours for its employees in January 2022. Managed entirely online, the system allows employees to choose their daily work hours as long as they complete the required monthly schedule of around 177 hours.
These days, pediatric clinics are so crowded that you have to start queuing as early as 5 a.m. But because I was able to adjust my work hours, I was able to take my child to the hospital.
Kim Sol-mi, whose son is 23 months old, says that this has enhanced her work-life balance.
The hardest part is being at work when your kid is at home sick, because you just worry about them. But having control over my work hours has been a huge help.
The company says the number of births and marriages has tripled since they first implemented the flexible working hour system, showing how policy supporting a good work-life balance for working moms like Ian Kim can help Korea address its low birth rate. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Incheon City is hosting an impressive art show over the next 4 days, starting today, with some 6,000 works from here and abroad on display. Our Han Da-eun gives us a glimpse.
A stunning collection of art featuring standout pieces from over 130 galleries across Korea. Art enthusiasts delve into the details of each work, while others are inspired to try their hand at painting. The Incheon Art Show 2024 kicked off on Thursday for a 4-day run in Songdo, showcasing some 6,000 captivating artworks, both from Korea and around the world. Now in its 4th year, the show has attracted more than 50,000 visitors and generated over $5 million in sales, solidifying its position as Incheon's premier art exhibition. This year, visitors can enjoy an impressive range of works, from the iconic pieces of Pablo Picasso and Takashi Murakami to David Hockney.
The Incheon Art Show aims to go beyond just viewing and appreciating art, striving to create a virtuous cycle where audiences also engage in purchasing artworks. This shift is intended to position Incheon as a pivotal player in the global art market.
Incheon Mayor Yoo Jung-bok says the art show is a key component of the city's broader efforts to expand its cultural and artistic infrastructure.
Enhancing Incheon's cultural competitiveness is not only key to improving citizen happiness, but also acts as a crucial indicator of the city's broader competitiveness. I am committed to advancing Incheon's cultural sector through a range of dedicated initiatives.
Under the tagline, Beyond Asia, Connect Global, the Incheon Art Show promises a unique experience that blends diverse art perspectives, offering a rich showcase of both renowned artists and emerging talents. Hopes are high that it'll play a significant role in fostering the port city's cultural growth and turn Incheon into a vibrant hub for the arts on the global stage. 한다은, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. Violence has escalated in the Haitian capital, Port-au-Prince, with the United Nations Human Rights Office of the High Commissioner saying Wednesday that at least 150 people were killed and some 100 injured in the past week alone. Difficult conditions continue in Haiti, with some 80% of the Haitian capital still controlled by well-armed gangs, where civilians are routinely being targeted. Around 20,000 people have also been forced to flee their homes since a coalition of gangs began pushing for total control of the country's capital on November 11th. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk expressed grave concern, saying that some 4 million residents of Port-au-Prince are practically being held hostage by an alliance of Haitian gangs controlling all the main roads in and out of the capital. While a Kenya-led international force has been deployed in Haiti to support Haitian military and police, the UN Human Rights Office estimates some 700,000 people are now displaced across the country. It also said that up to Wednesday, 4,544 deaths had been caused by gang violence, with another 2,060 people injured. A powerful storm known as a bomb cycle slammed the northwest United States and parts of Canada on Tuesday night to early Wednesday, leaving some 650,000 without power and at least 2 people dead. Schools in western parts of Washington state have temporarily cancelled classes as falling trees killed at least 2 people in the state overnight. A bomb cyclone occurs when a storm rapidly intensifies over a short period of time due to a rapid fall in central air pressure. Gusts of up to 124 kilometers per hour were recorded in Washington state, while the coast of British Columbia saw winds of up to 163 kilometers per hour. In Washington state, over 650,000 homes or businesses lost power by Wednesday morning, while 140,000 were cut off in British Columbia, and more than 24,000 were left without power in California. The cyclone is predicted to move towards northern California, with strong winds and heavy rains expected to continue through to Friday in the affected regions. India continues to see hazardous levels of air pollution, leading the capital's environment minister to order half of its government workers to work from home on Wednesday. According to IQ Air data on Wednesday morning, New Delhi ranked as the world's most polluted city with a very unhealthy level of 227 on the Air Quality Index. Now, Delhi Environment Minister Gopal Rai said that 50% of the Delhi government staff will be working from home, with the exception of those working in departments providing essential services. All schools in Delhi have also been temporarily shut down to prevent pollution-related illnesses, while Stage 4 pollution curbs have been imposed banning operation of trucks and vehicles. A woman has been charged with hate crime in the US after a video recording an altercation at a cafe in Illinois went viral. 64-year-old Alexandra Shostakevich has been charged with 2 counts of hate crime, which are a Class 4 felony, and a single count of misdemeanor disorderly conduct after she was seen in an altercation with a Palestinian man and his pregnant wife, attempting to pour a drink on the man and raising a hand to assault the victim. Now, police said that Shostakevich confronted the man before his wife began recording the encounter. Illinois Downers Grove Chief of Police Michael DeVries said that the assailants' behavior is not and will never be tolerated in our community. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Even though mild conditions stayed throughout the day, ultrafine dust appeared again. Due to stagnant atmospheric conditions, the concentration of ultrafine dust was in the bad category in the Seoul metropolitan area, Chungcheongbuk-do province, and Gwangju. From tonight, it will expand to the southern inland areas and continue until tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, the late autumn weather will continue under clear skies. Mild temperatures of 10 degrees Celsius will prevail for the daytime in Seoul. However, morning temperatures will stay at single figures all over the country, so do expect temperature gaps. Tomorrow morning, Chuncheon will start off at 1 degree, Daejeon 4 degrees. Highs in Daejeon and Gwangju will move up to 12 degrees, Daegu and Gyeongju 13 degrees. After rain across the country early next week, daytime temperatures will drop dramatically. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Thank you for watching.